Well, now we have many stories to look out for this morning, and certainly apart from the budget stories that have been making headlines. Now let's set the ball rolling with our first big story. At least some 14,000 Nigerians who fled their communities in the northeast of the country now live in makeshift camps in Bagashola, a local community in Chad. Now these refugees are finding life difficult and they want government assistance.
Saadat Usman is 51 years old. A few years ago, she fled her hometown in Adamawa State, northeast Nigeria, to avoid being hit. But her stay in Kufua in Chad was cut short after a suicide attack. It seems her fears have become her reality. Her 2 legs were badly affected, and she's been catered for at this military hospital.
We were trying to buy fish when we heard a loud explosion. A woman carrying the explosives was in our midst. The blast flung me and I sustained injuries, but I was still conscious. I was holding a telephone, and then my younger brother saw my condition and raised alarm. That was when soldiers arrived and carried us away.
Usman, her husband, has been at her bedside since the incident 4 months ago. He seems emotionally pained. He's a fisherman, and his savings could no longer settle the hospital bills. They now rely on the Nigerian embassy for their upkeep.
I'm not happy. My business has stopped for more than 4 months. We are just here. My son is also here in the hospital. We want the government to assist us.
Like Saadatu, about 14,000 Nigerians have taken refuge in Chad. They live in makeshift camps at Bagashola, and they say life hasn't been easy for them.
They rounded up all Nigerians and just put them there, and the situation at one point has been very, very critical, and they lack basic essential facilities, like and also items like food and medicine, more especially the children. At one point the children were badly nourished. We had to intervene. NEMA has intervened at one point. They brought a lot of food items and clothes and blankets and all these things, but it has been some time, over 1 year now.
They want government to provide them with basic food items to alleviate their suffering. Doshima Abu, TVC News.
And Doshima Abu is back from Chad and he's right here with us. Many thanks for joining us this morning. Really, that picture we saw, not palatable. Can you walk us through exactly what is happening at that camp?
Well, at Bagashola, it's a local community in Chad. It's close to it's about 70 kilometers from Nigeria. That's the border town. It's a border town. When at the peak of the insurgency, when there was attack, when Bama was taken over by the insurgents, many Nigerians, residents of that community, fled. And you know how they came into Chad? They actually came through canoes, through the Lake Chad, and that was how they got into, not minding the risk involved. Some of them got drowned in the lake, but they actually managed to get to Chad. At a point, they were staying in various communities until the Chadian government, working with UN agencies like the UN Agency for Refugee and other agencies, now came together, and then now they are in Bagashola. Now, the picture you would see when you walk into that place, it's unimaginable. You would see people who fled with nothing. They left their homes with nothing, practically with nothing, and they are stranded in that camp. They have no food there, though UN agencies are helping. We saw the World Food Program officials there. We saw UNHCR officials there, and they too are complaining. You would imagine that UNHCR is saying that it needs about $31 million to be able to deal with this issue. And also not forgetting the fact that Nigerian refugees are not the only one in Chad. You know that the crisis in Central African Republic has also, we saw influx of refugees from Central African Republic, also refugees from Darfur region because of the crisis. So most of the Central African areas, crisis in the Central African area have pushed a lot of people to these to Chad, which is probably the neighboring country and probably safe for them. But the issue about the Nigerian residents, the fact that there are about 14,000 of them in Bagasola. That's not to say that there are no other areas where they are living. Some of them have been taken in by members of the community because you know, because of the proximity, we have relatives. Some of them have got relatives around the area, and so some of them are living with the host community. Life hasn't been very easy for them. Programs have been put in place by the UNHCR, like teaching them how to fish, giving them fishing techniques to enable them empower themselves. Most of them are picking up gradually, but I will tell you that the basic necessities, necessities that could keep them going is not in that calm. Life is quite difficult. Many of them can't even afford a meal a day.
Okay, apart from the picture you have painted for us now, how about the sanitary conditions within the camp?
Well, what we saw on the ground, like I said, it's quite pathetic. We have a huge number of people coming in on a daily basis. We have about 67.7% of children under the age of 18. So you can imagine what that means. And we have about 37% of others who are below the age of 5. And that's to tell you what you could see, what you could imagine, where we don't have good facility for good toilet facility for them. We don't have the camp is a makeshift camp, so you can imagine that most of these children are not going to school. Most of them have the circumstances have robbed them of their youthfulness, of growing up, playing with their age mates, trying to learn. They have to grow up fast because they have to live and they have to survive. And so the situation there is quite pathetic. It's something you would want to experience rather than being told.
Okay, the Nigerian embassy in Chad, what are they doing about this?
The Nigerian embassy in Chad has been, we spoke with the ambassador, Mohammed Dauda. He said that he's been holding talks with UNHCR, he's been holding talks with government officials there. It seemed like because of the enormity, or because of the huge nature of crisis within the community, the UNHCR is saying that he can't handle what is coming from Nigeria. We also know that Cameroon is very close. We have about over 100 of Nigerians in Cameroon. And recently, the U.S. A permanent representative at the UN was in Cameroon, and he has pledged, the U.S. had pledged about over $40 million to the crisis. But what I'm trying to say is that the Nigerian situation, the world is not doing enough to tackle the issue of humanitarian concerns with the crisis coming from Nigeria. Nigeria has contributed immensely to security, peace and security around the globe, but we've seen about 2.3 million people displaced, and that is huge enough.
Okay, we'll come back to this certainly. Now, the zonal coordinator of the National Emergency Management Agency in Northeast Zone, Mohammed Kana, joins us now on phone from Maiduguri.